So everybody keeps asking me, can you get COVID again? Once you have it, can you get it twice? Can you get it 3 times? Is this all going to end? Is everything going to become normal again? And I don't know. I started thinking, I was like, man. So this brings us to the question of immunoglobulins, your antibodies. What's an antibody? It's a large Y-shaped protein used by the immune system to neutralize pathogens, such as bacteria, parasites, and viruses such as COVID-19. I don't know why I have to say it that way, but I just do. So I try to make sense of it as best as I could. So here we have a person, don't mind the drawing. Cough, they sneeze, they have forceful breathing, such as someone heavyweight or heavy set. They're infected with COVID-19, and the other person who's near them has the pathogen into their body through the eyes, through the mouth, through the nose, hence all of the gear that everybody is encouraged to wear. So we have 2 main immunoglobulins that we're going to focus on today. You have 5 actually, but we're going to focus on the 2 main ones. That's IgM and IgG, immunoglobulin M and immunoglobulin G. The first one we're going to focus on is IgM. The minute, IgM minute, the minute you get infected with this COVID virus, IgM is released and it goes to fight the infection. So the minute you get infected, IgM is released. IgM is a Y-shaped immunoglobulin. Let's say you have COVID, you get infected. 3 or 4 days later, you start to have symptoms such as cough, fever, sore throat, headache, diarrhea. IgM is released. It's a Y-shaped molecule. So it attacks the pathogen while at the same time gathering vital information as to how it can kill this pathogen. Several days after that, IgG is released. This is about 70% of your immunoglobulins. So IgG is released after IgM. IgM is your immunoglobulin that is first released the minute you get infected. IgG, you consider that as gone. The infection is quite not gone, but you've gathered enough information to figure out how to fight the infection based on what the IgM was able to gather. So IgG is released into the bloodstream, and it also helps fight the infection. The IgM molecule is similar to that of the IgG. The IgG has receptor sites at the end of the Y-shaped that call in for phagocytes. These are your larger cells that come in and engulf the bacteria or virus or parasite. So when I was doing my research, I noticed that one of the first females that was diagnosed with COVID-19 was from Australia. She had traveled to Wuhan, China. She developed symptoms 4 days after traveling to Wuhan, China. Then by day 7, they drew some blood work on her, and they noticed that her IgM between day 7 and day 9 was increasing. And they noticed that by day 13, her IgG had taken over and was more than her IgM. So IgG is your main immunoglobulin that helps fight bacteria, gather information so that you can have immunity to fight the bacteria once you get infected again. The question is, if you have IgG, immunoglobulin G, and immunoglobulin M, can you get infected again? So once you have COVID-19, and you get infected with COVID-19 again. I took a look at some studies that they did with SARS. So SARS is similar to COVID-19. It was a pandemic that happened, again, from eating bats and monkeys and uncooked foods. What they found was they did some studies on some monkeys, and they found that when they injected these monkeys with SARS, so kind of consider SARS as like a COVID-19, they noticed that initially the IgM rapidly increased. And while this was happening, these monkeys had fever, shortness of breath, diarrhea, decrease in appetite, change in behavior. 7 days later, the IgM increased. And then like by day 13, they no longer had these symptoms. And by day 30, the monkeys were back to normal. They re-injected the monkeys with the SARS virus. And they noticed that the only thing that they had was a fever for 1 day only. They didn't have the shortness of breath, the diarrhea, the decreased appetite, the change in behavior. They only had a fever for 1 day, and then they were back to normal again. So if SARS is like COVID, that means they built immunoglobulins to fight the reinjection of the SARS virus that they're injected with. So, does this mean immunity was reached? Difficult to tell. So, the question is, once you have COVID-19, you develop these immunoglobulins. Is it like measles, where once you get measles, you can't get measles twice because you developed immunity, the immunoglobulins, to fight that infection again? Or is COVID-19 like influenza? Yes, you can develop immunoglobulins against influenza, but there's so many different strains of influenza. So you develop immunity for one, but just a slight change, you don't have immunity for that, and now you've got infection. And yes, people, influenza does kill a lot of people. What about syphilis? You can get syphilis more than once. You don't build immunity, hence the comeback for syphilis that I've actually seen. I've seen a lot of syphilis cases lately. It's making a comeback, people. So once you get syphilis once, you can get it again. So the initial question was, do you build immunity to COVID-19? Do your IgMs and your IgGs remember COVID-19, help fight it off again in the future? Some positive things are these studies that they did with SARS and how the monkeys only had a mild fever for one day and everything was resumed. I get a lot of people that come to me and they say, hey, I think I already had COVID. Because I had a bad cough, I took this antibiotic, that antibiotic, it didn't go away, I was short of breath, I had chest pain, and I think I already had COVID. Are they immune now? Can they walk around with no masks on? If I have COVID as a healthcare professional, can I go into a patient's room that has COVID now and not expect to either transmit some form of COVID to them or them give me COVID again? Can I then come home to my loved ones without a face mask or anything like that and not transmit COVID to them? I don't know. It's a fluid situation. I just thought I'd talk about it. Just leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And we'll continue doing more research on this. Pretty interesting stuff. Be rich. I'm out.